Hello everyone, it is Act 2, Scene 1. It's just a few hours before the dawn of the fateful Ides of March. Brutus is in his orchard, unable to sleep. He has spent many sleepless nights since Cassius spoke to him. He calls out to Lucius, his page boy, to light a candle in his room and then call him. Brutus has come to the conclusion that it must be by his death. That means it must be by the death of Caesar. This is a soliloquy when the actor speaks his mind and the audience is aware of what his thoughts are. The trend of his thoughts are as follows. It must be by his death, and then he says, I have no personal grudge against Caesar, but I must ensure the good of Rome by his assassination. He has not harmed the state so far, but he might as soon as he is made king, for even a just man is corrupted by absolute power. To prevent Caesar from acting against Rome, I must keep my personal friendship aside and act for the sake of public good. Caesar cannot be trusted with absolute power when there are no political checks or restraints. This would be the undoing of centuries of work to build Rome as a republic. It is the bright day that brings forth the adder, and that craves wary walking. Just like when a snake comes out of its hole on a sunny morning and people walking around have to be cautious that they don't get stung by it, in the same way, when Caesar gets power, others have to be more careful. He could strike down anyone he wishes to. Great men with power use their power irresponsibly, without much consideration for other human beings. Caesar has never allowed his passions or feelings to rule his judgment, but there is no guarantee he may follow that now. That lowliness is young ambition's ladder means a beginner shows humility and climbs the ladder to success and power, but once he reaches the top rung of the ladder, he may kick the ladder and look at others standing down with contempt. Caesar also could do that, so to prevent him, assassinating him is the only alternative. Brutus is left with no option. The comparison to a snake comes again. Caesar is compared to a serpent's egg. When the egg hatches, naturally it will have the characteristics of its parent, that is, it will be poisonous. Caesar is like the serpent's egg. Power will make him dangerous. Hence, to prevent that, it is better to crush the egg so that it does not hatch. Lucius re-enters to announce that the candle is lit in his room and hands him a note sent by Cassius to influence Brutus. He asks him to go back and sleep, but before that he wants confirmation whether the following day is Ides of March. Lucius is not sure, so Brutus asks him to check the calendar, and then he looks at the note. The exhalations whizzing in the air means the vapors in the air lend some amount of light and is enough for Brutus to read the note. The cunning anonymous note by Cassius says this, Brutus, thou sleepest, awake and see thyself. Shall Rome, and then it's not complete, then speak, strike, redress. Brutus is able to understand the message therein. Many times he has been asked to wake up and be aware of the situation in Rome. Shall Rome, he guesses that it could be, shall Rome be under one man's rule? And then it is Brutus who has to take the lead, speak against Caesar's rule, strike if necessary, and bring about changes. Brutus remembers that he is the descendant of his great ancestor who drove away Tarquin from Rome. At last, he promises Rome that he will do whatever possible to safeguard Rome. Lucius returns and confirms that the next day is Ides of March. At this moment, there is the sound of knocking. Lucius hurries to the gate. Brutus reflects that from the day Cassius spoke to him about Caesar's growing power, he has not slept. The interval between the first thought and the final decision to act is like a nightmare. The genius could be interpreted as a man's moral consciousness, which is in conflict with his mortal instruments, which could mean the earthly emotion or passion. The whole thing means Brutus' moral consciousness has a debate with his earthly passions, which want Caesar out of the way. The conflict is compared to a civil war that takes place in the little kingdom, that is, his body. Lucius enters and announces the arrival of Cassius. Mentions Cassius as his brother, meaning Brutus' brother-in-law. Cassius had married Brutus' sister. Brutus inquires whether he is alone. Lucius says that there are many, but he is not able to identify them as all of them have buried their faces in their cloaks. Brutus tells him that they can enter and indulges in a soliloquy again. Brutus is repulsed that they have covered their dangerous faces even by night when evils are most free, and questions then how will they walk about during daytime, and immediately finds the answer. They need to mask their faces with smiles so that their innermost secret evil intentions are hidden, as there is no cave dark enough to hide their monstrous visage. Visage means face, so monstrous faces. The conspirators enter, and Cassius says that every man present there respects Brutus and introduces them, and then takes Brutus aside to talk with him in privacy.